Welcome to House Fluent Inspections Radio, where we hope you enjoy stress-free home buying, home selling, and home ownership. I'm your host, Brian Botch, owner of House Fluent Inspections, and I'm joined today by Bill Beck. We are both licensed professional inspectors here in the state of Texas, and we want to help relieve that anxiety, alleviate those butterflies, and empower you to make smart, informed decisions about the condition of your home. Well,
You made that sound like we are real estate psychologists.
I know. Well, some
Like-
days, yeah, that
I'll
is
have to
true.
bring a couch in here and just
Yeah, that nice little.
Just sit back on the couch, lay back.
relax.
We'll
Tell
help
us about what's going on. So, guys, how was your week? How's everybody been?
It's been a good week.
Been a good week?
Ready for some sun.
Yeah,
A little rainy,
been a little rainy.
a little
Yep.
wintry, a little cold.
Yeah. Kelly, first week back, first full week back. Everything good with you?
Yeah, everything's great. I think I actually remember last time I told you I fell off a horse in Scotland.
Yeah.
I got thrown off the horse.
Yeah.
I think I actually broke my ribs. I think I did.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah,
So can be okay?
I think so. You know,
Yeah.
it's one of those things where I was talking to my daughter who's studying to be an EMT, and she
Uh-huh.
goes, "Well, you know, Dad, if you break your ribs, that's the hardest thing to get repaired again.
Yeah.
The hardest thing to.
It only
heal."
hurts when you breathe.
Because when you breathe, you keep expanding and contracting. Yeah, something else is doing a little feedback.
Yeah,
you
we're
can
getting
hear
some
somewhere.
buzzing.
Yeah.
We're just gonna have to
Well-
deal with it.
We'll trust you to fix that as we go.
Yeah,
So-
we'll
is
see.
something getting too close to a mic or something?
I don't know.
Probably me. Well, we're going to talk today, guys, about extreme remodels or extreme home makeovers, I guess, as they're called.
Don't you have to go extreme?
Extreme.
Sunday.
Yeah, so it's definitely a trend that we're seeing. People are buying these,
Dream flips.
an extreme flip, right? And in a lot of times, though, it's not necessarily a flip. A lot of these extreme makeovers, people are buying up these older homes. They feel like they're getting a deal on them, and they're redoing them to live in, right? They see it as kind of their, I don't know. People like to call it a forever home, right? I don't know that such a thing truly exists, but that's what people like to call it.
You're definitely seeing it more in older neighborhoods that are in either up and coming older neighborhoods that people love now because of the
Oh,
trees
yeah.
and the parks
Big
and
old
the
trees,
beauty and
yeah.
just the older areas that
Yeah.
have really gone up in value. That could be by a college or something like that. You see
Sure.
a lot. So people are buying those houses that it could be in pretty bad shape in some cases,
Mm-hmm.
and are building them for themselves, but they're making them pretty high end homes.
Yeah, they are.
Updating them a lot. So it's still still an older home underneath, but
Well-
cosmetically and it's making it look much more modern.
Yeah, so I mean, the idea behind this is you are buying an older home and giving it a quote unquote modern facelift. And in most of the cases where they're going to an extreme level, they actually take the inside of the house all the way down to the studs. So they do that for many reasons. There may or may not be tax advantages where you live to doing that. There's also the opportunity to really take an older home and make it your own. You can literally move walls. You
Right.
can redo entire systems much more inexpensively because you're not having to deal with insulation, snaking stuff up and down, and
Mhm.
dealing with exterior walls. All that stuff's exposed.
You can see everything.
Yeah, that's it. So it's cheaper actually to get the tradespeople in there. The downside to it is time. Have the ability to do it while you're not living in it, right?
Yeah.
So
That's the big one.
yeah, it is because they literally take everything out of these homes, and it's really interesting to kind of watch a home go through that transformation. There was one that was done down the street from us, and it probably took them 3 months to redo this house, and they literally, removed load-bearing walls, all kinds of things, and you could see it under construction the whole time. And about the only thing they didn't do on 3 sides of the house, there was brick about halfway up the wall that they left, some of the original brick.
Okay.
And then they put stone above that, and they put
Mhm.
stone on the corners. They blew the back of the house out a little bit, added some space.
Curb appeal. Curb appeal.
Yeah, they put these giant windows in
Mhm.
that a lot of these older homes like mine, I've got a lot of windows, but they're small.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a lot of small rooms. We've since done some remodeling ourselves, nothing to this extreme. but we've done some remodeling to kind of make rooms more spacious and add light and things. So it's really an interesting trend. We're starting to see some of these houses on the market. We're starting to inspect some of these houses, and they present an interesting challenge in and of themselves when it comes to inspecting it. A lot of times you just don't know what was done, and it takes some real digging, some real research to kind of figure that out.
You mean people did stuff and didn't record what they did?
Well, they may have, but as an inspector, we don't know,
Right.
right? We're just showing up. A lot of times we're showing up cold on the scene with not a lot of information beforehand about the things that were done. So you're kind of doing some digging, some investigating on your own. A lot of times you're asking the clients or the realtors about what was done, because in some cases they know more about what actually happened in the past than you do.
True.
And so a lot of times we're doing those types of things as well.
For us too, there's a lot of unknowns as far as did they go through the processes of getting permits? Did they go through, which
Yeah.
or did they have structural engineers and architects come in and help them with the modifications they're doing to the house? Also, were there inspectors coming in and looking at stuff as they're building it, like you would on a new home?
Right.
Where their city
And which
inspectors
is a great
coming in.
idea, by the way. That's a fantastic idea to have that.
Yeah,
done.
even when you have the city inspector come in on a new construction, they have to
Yeah.
come in and look at everything. And some of these cases, I doubt there's a lot of that going on from stuff we've seen.
Maybe.
Some
It is kind of hard to tell with some of that stuff.
it's just
Yeah.
who's doing the work.
Yeah.
What are they qualified to be doing the work?
Sure. Well,
know,
I mean,
it-
that comes back to, right? So,
And once the
Take your
drywall
time.
goes up and stuff, you're
Yeah, it's hard to see
It's
some of
hard to
that.
tell what's going
Sure.
on. So we see similar things on some of these larger flips than you would see on a new home, just because
Yeah.
there's so much new stuff that hasn't been operated,
Yeah.
tested, run. It hasn't
Sure.
been broke in.
oh, sure, I agree.
They had
And
never been turned on.
in many cases, these aren't flips, right? So in many cases,
If they're doing it for themselves now.
yeah,
I
a lot
agree.
of people are doing it for themselves, and some people. I mean, when I say extreme makeover, we've seen houses where people have spent over $500,000 redoing an older home, which would just kind of blow your mind. You'd think, well, why don't they just bulldoze it and start over, right? Which, I mean, that happens too.
It happens
But-
a lot.
But there's some advantage, or there's something about the house that they see, they like, they want to keep, and so
if
they redo it.
if it's a good house with good foundation and all that, I
Mhm.
mean,
Yeah.
I can see why people like the character of the house.
Sure, yeah,
The history of
absolutely.
it, whatever. There's certain things about older houses that are neat. That you just
Yeah.
don't see anymore. Everything now is vaulted ceilings and all that. You don't have that kind of stuff with some of the older houses.
Sure.
And it's hard to change that. But
Yeah. Well, they even have special loans and things for people who are trying to accomplish this. They've got special rehab loans and all
Okay.
kinds of things. So
Mhm.
if you are considering something like this, our show today is going to try and help you maybe avoid some of the pitfalls associated with it. At least that's our goal. And so it all starts really with good project planning. And if you're going to undertake something like this, if you're not a detailed person, find somebody who is, right?
Right.
Find a good person who can help you actually manage this project, okay? Because this is going to be a pretty massive undertaking, okay? One thing that I would say is if you are considering removing load-bearing walls and things, do your homework up front.
Right.
Consider bringing in a structural engineer. Consider bringing in some other experts that are going to be able to help you design it, okay? That's going to cost you a few $100s, maybe even as much as $1,000. It's going to be a drop in the bucket compared to what you're doing, and it's going to set you up for success.
Definitely. Those are very good ideas.
Yeah.
You don't want some guy with a sawzall just showing up.
No, you don't. And a lot of people will hire these companies that specialize in this, and that's kind of what they do. I mean, they don't go completely off the cuff,
Right.
but in a lot of cases, it's okay, we want to move this wall here, we want to do that, and yeah, I mean, they're kind of drawing up some plans and things,
Mm-hmm.
but it's much more informal. And what I would suggest is that if you have a formal plan, if you have a written plan, you're going to be far more successful at this and more likely to stay on budget.
Definitely.
Well, yeah, you got a guide.
Yeah.
Well, and you may alter your budget depending on what a structural engineer may tell you.
Yeah.
As far as you may not do something else because you need to do this, but
Oh,
I would say
absolutely.
without a doubt, structurally do it right.
Yeah, without a doubt. And the reality is, there are people that go over budget as much as 50%
Yes.
trying to do something like this, because they don't do that planning up front.
Or
Because
they-
they just walk in and say, "Hey, we want to blow this wall out over here. We want to do that over there," and they don't think about the repercussions behind some of that stuff.
There's
that,
a lot of
that
unknowns.
rears its head,
A lot of
head later.
unknowns that they find once they start getting into the house. A lot
Yeah,
of unknowns.
absolutely.
Or a contractor comes in and says, "I can't do this unless we fix this," or those kind of things.
Yeah.
You see it on a lot of these shows too. It's
Mhm.
very similar. They get into the guts of a house, and it's like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Especially if
Oh, we shouldn't open that
especially if
wall.
you're getting into a house that
Yeah.
may have already been remodeled
Yeah.
once or twice, and
Sure.
now you're stuck with what they did.
Yeah.
Um,
When you run into all kinds of things with this, right? So you've got an older home that maybe you're going to add on to. Maybe your home is a pier and beam home, and the addition's going to be a slab. Okay, well, all that has to tie together, work together. There's different elevations involved. There's all kinds of things, all kinds of good reasons to get an engineer involved. And I mean, it sounds like I'm advertising for engineers, but really, that is going to set you up for success. It's going to be money very well spent.
Yeah, you can even decide at that point after you consult with someone, is this something I really even want to do?
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Because sometimes you can start a project and you get so invested in it monetarily
Yeah.
that you have no choice but to finish it.
To finish it, you got to go through it.
know?
Yeah, you got to keep going. The only way out is through.
Right.
well, and also I forgot what to say. I mean, as I was thinking about it, as far as restoring a car,
Yeah.
you can go way over on restoring a car that you're in love with, and then you go to resell it, and you cannot get anywhere
Oh, yeah.
near what you just
What
spent
you
on
put
it.
in it. Yeah.
And you could easily do that with a home too, or
Yeah.
or put it in a price range that doesn't exist in that area.
Yeah, 'cause
It
you're
will not
emotionally
appraise for that.
invested.
It's not going to appraise
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
So that structurally, the more you do it correctly, will definitely help you on the resale side of it too,
Well,
which you have to think about.
Yeah, and Bill, you brought up a really good point. So consult a realtor before you start doing this. And I realize even if it's going to be your quote unquote forever home, you're planning on living there 20 years, whatever, consult a realtor because you never know what life's going to throw at you.
Mhm.
Right? We recently looked at one of these homes. They spent well over $500,000 redoing the inside of this home. They'd lived there 2 years. They didn't plan on living there 2 years.
No.
They lived there 2 years because there was some issues in the family. Some things happened. They needed to sell the house and downsize, and it's one of those kind of sad, unfortunate situations. But there's no way they were getting out of that house what they put into it.
No, and you could tell
So
on a lot of these houses too what was done for them personally, and
Yeah.
when it's done as an
Oh,
investor
absolutely.
type house,
Yeah.
they without a doubt did not do this probably with the intent of having to sell. It was done probably one of the best remodels we've ever seen. I mean,
Oh,
it was
without
an
a doubt.
incredible job. They
Yeah.
went all out on everything. Probably to the point where they were never going to get a lot of it back.
Yeah.
But they probably weren't ever even worried about that when they were doing it. But they
no,
did a beautiful
but you
job.
need to understand it, right? I mean, even if
You have to.
even if you make the conscious decision that, you know what, I don't care, I'm going to roll the dice anyway, I'm planning on being here 20 years, at least you have that knowledge up front.
Right.
So
Right.
consult a good realtor, understand what the market's doing in your area, explain what you're trying to do to the house, and you know what? They're experts in selling your house. They could probably give you some ideas that
Mhm.
you're not even thinking about,
True.
that might bring more value to your remodel, even though you're planning to redo everything. They might tell you, well, the kind of things are headed this direction. You might want to consider doing that.
Yeah, or you can focus more on this, maybe not so much of that.
Yeah.
And it's got to be really hard when you're doing your own remodel to not go overboard. It has to. be,
Oh,
'cause
absolutely, yeah.
Especially when you go into someone's new house and you see what they have. And,
Yeah.
oh man, this is really nice. I like all this stuff, and you want to bring
Sure.
all that into your house, and
Oh yeah.
but you can some of it. And there's obviously a major difference on quality levels of materials. I mean,
Yeah.
all that, which obviously adds up quickly.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, it absolutely does.
Where do you want to spend money on the materials? Where's it going to show more?
Yeah.
Which is
And-
normally where I could tell if it's an investor home or someone's own.
Sure.
The quality of what they used.
What
I
they
mean,
used, yeah.
big difference.
Yeah, and a lot of these homes, so we talked last week about net zero building, right?
Right.
So a lot of these homes, when they're doing the extreme makeover, they are looking at more energy efficient things. They are putting in all sorts of things, including spray foam,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which is really interesting. So, you look at a home that was built in, 1950, and you're not expecting to see, a spray
No.
foamed attic, and you go up there and you're like, whoa, where did this come
Yeah.
from? This is great.
Oh my gosh,
Um,
it's you're not even prepared for it. It's just
Yeah.
like how in the world, and what a massive job that would be to do on top of
Oh
that.
yeah.
But
But if you've
if
got
you replaced
everything
your
out
windows
anyway,
and
yeah.
you replace and you do that, you're bringing that house to pretty current levels. I mean, as far as
yeah, of energy
efficiency goes,
efficiency,
and,
sure,
Right.
I
absolutely.
mean, but it's going to cost you.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt. But like I said, in most of these cases, they're taking all the drywall out anyway.
Mhm.
They're taking it, quote unquote, down to the sticks, right? They're
Mhm.
taking it down to the studs,
Right.
and so they're able to, when you open everything up like that, it gives you more options, and it's not as expensive as if you had to go in there and suck all the fiberglass out or whatever happened to be in there, and then
They did on that one that house we're talking about.
Yeah,
all the fiberglass was gone.
absolutely.
And they had to close all their roof vents off because
Yeah.
you no longer need vents in your roof.
Yeah.
And which they had just put ridge vents or somebody had
Yeah,
on it, which
somebody
was
put 'em on there.
Interesting. But
Oh.
they probably filled with foam, but it was interesting.
Yeah. One of the other things I see, and maybe this is a pitfall, maybe it's just some advice, I don't know, but we see a lot of times they will completely redo the plumbing system in these homes. They'll get rid of all the old copper, galvanized, whatever happened to be in there, get rid of the old cast iron, and then they'll replumb it with PEX, okay, and PVC. But what they don't do, they often fall short, is taking it from the house to the street.
Right.
And that's where you find a lot of problems. And really, it's only probably a few thousand more to finish that off, take it all the way to the street, and now you've got new plumbing all the way, and hey, things are going to be good. We see these older homes that these have been done on, and we always have to recommend, hey, look, you've got to get your sewer line scoped, right?
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
And some cities now are doing that for free.
Mhm.
So it's really interesting. I recently found out one of the cities around here, Bedford, that's a service they're offering to people buying homes in their city and people living in their city. The city sewer department will come out and actually scope your drain lines for free.
We see that probably more than anything else on these older homes.
Yeah.
They'll replumb, especially if it's a pier and beam house. They'll replumb everything, but it's still got the cast iron going
yeah,
to the street.
going to the street.
And it just doesn't matter. There's not any amazing thing that's going to happen to one cast iron pipe. It's all deteriorating
Yeah,
over time, and
sure is.
they're all in the same boat. They're all underground.
They're all- yeah,
there's no
tree
condition that's
roots,
going to make.
yeah.
Well, yours is better than some. It's just an age thing, and it's going
Right.
to go. And
And the property owner is responsible for the plumbing between the house and the street.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
that's
All
that's
the way
on
to the
you. That's
street.
not the water.
well, not only that,
company
when you're
or the
doing
city.
the major remodel, your yard's all tore up. Your landscaping's tore
Yeah,
up.
you might as well do
You
it.
might as well just do it then
Exactly.
because you hate to go through all that and fix everything, pour new cement,
Yeah.
whatever you're going to do, and have to tear it all back up because
Right.
it's just a matter of time. It's going to go.
Yeah.
You're not going to see a lot of people that come back after scoping going, oh my gosh, it looks amazing. It looks like new.
Yeah, that's
It's-
right.
It's just how bad is it?
And
That's
that's-
basically it.
That's one of those things too. It's gonna. It may not. Talk to a realtor. It may or may not increase your property value, but I guarantee you, what it's gonna do, it's gonna relieve some of the anxiety of people considering purchasing your home when you go to sell it, right?
And you just don't want to have them come back and go, hey, my toilet's not flushing.
Oh, absolutely.
My bathtub's not draining.
So-
It's going to happen eventually.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, our home, I live in an older home, right? Our house was built in 1969. One of the things that gave me a little peace of mind was knowing that the drains had been redone to the street
Mhm.
before we
That's
moved in.
huge.
And because I knew, with an older home like that, it's just a common problem. It just happens.
And you've even seen a house where it had early style or early type of PVC
Yeah,
It was
very
very
recently we
thin-walled
had a client
that
like
had
that.
trees growing through it and
Mhm.
damaged it, and it was
Yeah.
deteriorating, and that was even PVC. So there's
Yeah.
different types of PVC.
And that was, I really, my heart goes out to those clients of ours, because the tree roots got into their sewer line literally right where it connects to the city.
Mm.
It's
Oh.
just right on their side,
Wow.
and it's under their driveway, and it's just an unfortunate challenge for them. But but we are trying to help them through that.
And it may be working perfectly fine the day you walk into the house and
Yeah.
run everything, and the day we inspect it, it all drains properly.
Yeah.
But you're in the house a month, and
Right.
there's a problem. Whereas had it been scoped, you probably would have saw that there is
Yeah.
a problem that you're going to have. But he even told them on that particular house, don't even use toilet paper in the bathrooms
Yeah.
because it'll plug
Because
it.
it'll plug it. Yeah. No, I mean they're working to correct it, so that's good news. But
Or don't flush the toilet paper. Sorry.
yeah, right. So, on top of that, you hear all these horror stories, right, of people trying to go through this, and I would almost wonder if this is more stressful than building a house, right? Because
Yeah.
you've got you just have so much going on.
There's so many
Right?
unknowns.
There's so many unknowns, so
Right.
many variables, so many surprises, things you're not planning for that can pop up, and that's why that planning makes you've really got to focus on that part of it.
You could start a business that just did marriage counseling for people doing
For people
remodels.
doing remodels.
Because that's probably the ultimate marriage tester.
Yeah,
Any
absolutely.
home improvement projects or a full remodel has to be. If you survive that,
Yeah,
You're good.
you're good.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
really
yeah.
shouldn't have any issues.
without a doubt.
Everything else will be easy.
Yeah. So one of the other things I would caution people against is mixing systems. We see this a lot with electrical and with plumbing.
Mhm.
So they do the remodel, maybe you add an addition to the back, and now you've got a modern plumbing or modern electrical system joined with an older one, right? And how those things are joined is really important, right? And we see a lot of times they're sort of done haphazardly, and that's where you see a lot of problems. This kind of goes back again to that planning section, to that making sure you've got the right contractor, or more importantly, maybe even the right subcontractors,
Mhm.
right? So we'll see a lot of times in an older home, you've got a really small electrical panel, right? And maybe sometimes it's even in a closet, and they move it to the outside of the house.
Right.
They put it in a new panel, and then they're running those stubs into the wall, into that old panel, and they wire nut it all together, and it looks like a bit of a rat's nest, right? And they do that to get more space, and then there's not necessarily anything wrong with that, but sometimes there is, right?
Mhm.
So if they're joining copper and aluminum,
Right.
it has to be done in a specific way. If if they're not joining things correctly, or even if they are, if it's just kind of all jumbled in there, which we see a lot, it
Well-
can cause you problems down the road.
Well, there's best practices.
Right,
I
that's
mean,
exactly
I
it.
mean, if you're not going to do it right, then
Don't do it at all,
Right.
right?
Well, the other thing you see a lot of is things change.
Yeah.
Things are updated. They come out with something better.
Right, that's exactly
You
right.
know, if I was investing in a house or remodeling an older house that I knew had been remodeled more than once,
Yeah,
I would assume you're going to budget in for not worst case scenarios, but you're going to budget in for
Sure.
things being done in that fashion to where you're going to have to
Yeah.
redo pretty much everything that's in that wall,
yeah,
just because times change too. And as times change, most of the time they're trying to figure out how they can adapt this to that
yeah.
And-
No,
and-
that's
and
we see that a lot.
because they don't want to change everything.
Yeah, we see that quite a lot, actually. We see it a lot where, they mix plumbing systems.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We looked at a house recently that had galvanized plumbing, copper plumbing, and PEX all on the supply side. And it was just a hodgepodge, but the house had been updated, 4, 5, 6 times over the years. And, you get in the crawl space and you can see all this crazy sort of conglomeration. It's almost like Franken plumbing, right? You want to kind of try and avoid the Franken plumbing.
And you see the same
Um,
thing on the electrical side. You'll see a house
Yeah.
with three prong outlets, thinking, oh,
Yeah.
they've gone to all grounded outlets in an older house, whereas it's still a 2-wire system, and they just put a 3-prong outlet on there, so you can actually plug your items in, but behind the wall there,
Yeah.
it's still the old style
The-
system.
The,
So
the best electrical remodels I've seen personally are where when they build the addition, what they do is they run a leg of power from the original main panel to a sub panel, and then use that to redo to do the addition, right? Because then you've got one spot where you've joined everything together, and then you've got one technology
Mhm.
in the addition, another technology, which was the original. It was designed to handle that house, right? It was designed that way.
Yeah.
And you're not mixing a lot of stuff. You're not joining a lot of wires. You don't have a lot of exposed ends and splices. You
And
don't
they're
have
not in
stuff
random
kind of
places
everywhere. Yeah,
that you have to go hunt for.
that's
later.
right. Yeah, you've got stuff really neatly organized.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
love it. I love it when I see that.
Yeah,
When I
that's
see
good.
that, that's like, oh, they did
Yeah,
this
so
right.
you're talking basically everything to every room is coming back to a brand new panel.
Yeah, that's
Now
exactly
they'll
right.
more than likely have to connect the new panel to the original panel.
Correct.
Or,
Yeah.
but that's the only place you'll have that.
Right.
Everything else will be like a new house.
Yeah.
So everything else can be modern and modern
Yeah.
technology and materials, and so yes, big difference.
Big difference.
And those are things you can look at too when you're looking at a house that you want to remodel to. Do I have access to all this? If it's a two-story house, am I going to be able to get wiring into these walls? It's
Yeah.
a lot tougher. If it's a single-story house, you can get up to the ceiling and drop a lot of stuff down.
Sure.
Or you're pretty much ripping out all the drywall. Anyway, so just things to think about when you're budgeting and looking at what you're capable of doing.
So, all right. Anything else you want to add, Bill, before we move on?
No, I think we got it. I think
All
we
right.
covered it.
All right. Well, remember, you can always tweet at us at HouseFluent. Use that hashtag #MyHomeQuestion. We try and get to those on the show. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast app, please hit that subscribe button. That does help us out a ton. We'd really appreciate that. And remember, you can always find us at Facebook or at Instagram or at housefluent.com. All right. You guys ready to move on down the road?
Keep on trucking. Let's go.
Bill, it is time for your favorite part of the show. You ready? Look, we're going to continue talking about extreme makeovers.
I haven't
here,
got any smarter listening to this stuff.
but your home has gotten smarter, and that's what matters.
Not mine.
So,
Somebody's has.
So as our smart home update today, we're going to continue kind of building on the theme from last week. Also, building on the concept of an extreme home makeover. So we talked about, with these extreme remodels, a lot of times they're taking them all the way down. They're building them back up. They're doing things more energy efficient.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a lot of times they're looking at adding solar, okay? And when everybody thinks of solar, they're thinking of the big square panels that sit on your roof, right?
Right.
All right, well, we talked a little bit, just very briefly last week, about the Tesla solar panels that they call them their solar shingles, okay?
Okay.
And for a while, they were kind of the only game in town. Well, there's actually a couple of companies now that are working on the solar shingles. And it's an interesting concept. They are not the cheapest game in town, for sure.
Sure, they're not.
But a typical 2,000 square foot house, they're estimating is going to be between $34,000 and $44,000 for a roof. It's a pretty expensive roof. Now, they are incredibly durable.
Really. That's my one caveat about this whole
So
thing.
most of these
Especially
shingles,
where we live.
Yeah, so most of these shingles are rated for up to 200 mile an hour winds.
Okay.
They're also hail resistant up to 1 3/4 inches. That's
Okay.
pretty good size hail.
Pretty good.
Pretty good. Feels
Pretty
like
good.
yeah,
It's right on the edge
not
of
quite there.
the really good
Um,
ones.
Most of them are fireproof, so that's good.
That's good. Yeah.
And so they're a pretty good hardy shingle. Okay, now one of the games in town is Dow Chemical, and they're building something called the Powerhouse. Okay, and these are also shingles, just like Tesla. Now they're not designed to be quite as aesthetically pleasing as the Tesla shingles. The Tesla shingles are designed to look like slate or tile. They're designed to look like a high-end normal shingle. Okay,
Right.
the Dow Powerhouse shingles still kind of look like a solar panel, but they're flat to your roof. Okay.
So they don't
So
stick up.
they don't stick up. There's not this huge mounted thing on your roof. They do look like shingles, but they're reflective. They look like glass.
Okay.
The advantage though of those is that the guts are removable. So with 6 screws you can upgrade your solar panel. So as new technology comes out, you don't have to replace everything.
Okay.
When you're ready to upgrade your roof, you just replace the insides.
So it's kind of like I'm just going to use a term like Gorilla Glass, and then you have the panel underneath it.
Yeah, kinda. I mean, it's
Or the
it's
guts
sort of
underneath?
sandwiched in between,
Yeah.
right? And then you when you're ready to upgrade the silicone, you take the glass off, you put the new silicone
Okay.
in, whatever the new technology is.
Okay.
and then you repower your house. Now these are being tied with battery walls, or what Tesla calls their power wall, right?
Right.
That's their technology, and they're being used to power people's houses, and they're starting to go on sale now, which is really interesting. You can build to make it smart. You can see on an app how much power you're generating, your house is doing, right? So you can see at any time how much power your house is generating. You can see how much power you have left in your battery packs. You can see how much power you're using, all kinds of things. So it's really interesting. Some of the questions I have about it are around, keeping it clean, right? Are we now gonna be power washing our roofs? Maybe. I don't
Well,
really know.
you gotta keep it clean.
I would think, right? You got to keep the glass. I would think it would diminish, right, over time as it gets
Well,
dirty.
I mean, I think the cells themselves have a degradation over time, where they get to like
Yeah, they do.
80%
Uh-huh.
efficiency over
Yeah,
a
they
couple
do.
of years.
Yeah, they do.
Could they do that glass that changes colors too, so you could change it for like different holidays and stuff too?
Maybe. You know what? I bet that's coming.
I'm going with a fully different approach on all this.
Dow's calling you, my friend. They're
I've-
looking for.
I've got a whole new program. I'm going to build a large treadmill type sidewalk in front of my house,
Uh-huh.
and I'm gonna offer it to cross country teams, people walking their
Nice.
dogs, athletes training, football teams, whatever. And I'm just gonna put it in my front yard, and it'll be a kind of a slope incline,
Mm-hmm.
and that's gonna power my house.
Be kind of like the old Jetsons cartoon,
Exactly.
with Astro out
It's
there.
like you stay in shape. You give like if you walk so many miles on it, it'll kick out like dog snacks or whatever.
Nice.
Maybe even clean up after them. That would be bad. But but yeah, I'm going with that approach.
Astro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going with the treadmill. It's gonna power my
Nice.
house.
I just want to see Bill flipping back over the.
People riding their bikes, they just stay in the same place. You don't have to go anywhere.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's right there.
Nice. That's funny. So, Kelly, what do you think about the solar shingles?
I'm actually very interested in it.
I am too.
The problem is I've gone on a couple of websites to look, and the way my roof is shaped and the way my
Uh-huh.
house is situated,
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
not. I only have a small area where it would be ideal to
Sure.
put solar on my roof. So I don't know that I'm a good client because of the size of my house and the electricity that we use.
Yeah. So I've looked at this as well. I need the price to come down a little bit more for me. I just don't think the ROI is quite there.
Exactly.
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 As far as a payback on it, we're certainly not planning to stay in our house another 20 years. And so for us, the payback, it's just not quite there yet. So,
But if we ever moved and we're going to build another house,
yeah.
I would definitely want to incorporate.
And
something
that's
like that.
exactly it too. If I had that, maybe in my mortgage,
Mhm.
where I'm paying, $2 a month or something for
Right,
it, it
right.
might be worth it, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, as a sort of standalone product, it's just not quite there yet for me.
My challenge with all this right now is we're really living in a time where this is advancing really fast. And
It
there's
is.
so much effort
Yeah.
and money being put into the research into this area. I'd be really nervous putting a large, big panel on my roof
Mhm.
because it's changing so quick right now. As
Yeah.
far
Yeah.
as soon as you do it, something better is going to come along.
Yeah.
And just not something that's so gradual. Right now, there's so much effort being put into all of this stuff.
Well, and that's what's so amazing about these shingles, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
think about it. So right now, people are putting these giant these big, thick solar panels. It's almost like going back to the late 70s or early
Mhm.
80s, where a computer took up, your entire desk, and now it fits in the palm of your hand, right?
Yeah.
And so solar's doing the same thing right now. Things are getting smaller, they're getting more efficient. And so, yeah, I'm interested to see, maybe 10 years down the road where this is going to be.
Yeah, kind of give it a little time.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you could be saving money now, but to put that kind of investment into it's just
It's big. Yeah, big investment.
Kind of, just 5 years from now,
Yeah.
it's probably gonna. What we're talking about right now is gonna almost seem,
Silly.
so
Yeah.
old.
It's crazy how
'cause
fast
it's
that
changing
moves.
so fast. I
So
mean,
I love the idea of being able to to see the power usage and the power generation right on the palm of my hand.
mhm.
That alone to me is very interesting to be
Mhm.
able to see. Okay,
Right.
we're using this much energy and we're generating this much energy, and you can really begin to see where you can start to make gains in making your home more efficient.
Have you ever seen the ones where, is it kinetic or whatever, where it's just like across the sidewalk or whatever, where people, every time someone crosses it, it produces a little bit of power?
No, I haven't seen that. That sounds really interesting.
They're really interesting, but I mean, if we just put those on our highways, we could generate tons of power.
So it's funny. It's funny you say that. There is a
I think it's
company.
kinetic, but it's just the motion going by. It doesn't produce a lot, but
Is it kind of like one of those kinetic flashlights, where you have to shake it up?
it's
and all
something
of a
like
sudden-
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just the motion going by it will create some power.
So there's a company that's working on their hexagonal shaped devices, basically, and they replace the asphalt in the road. And
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
I've
heard
seen
of that
this,
too.
yes.
Yeah,
I've heard
and
that
they're
they don't work that well.
Yeah.
yeah, it's still in
Yeah.
development. It was
Mhm.
it was created at a university. I can't remember which one, but they have solar cells in them, and they're also kinetic. So as the cars go over them, they generate power. They actually generate power, and it's used to power the lights for the road. Not only that, but in the winter, they can use it as a de-icer. It can
So they
actually
can heat
thaw
it
the
up and-
road. Yeah, it's kind of interesting, really
Definitely
interesting technology. So.
Yeah.
All right, Bill, we're going to move on a little bit. I actually have the top 10. I know you love my list, but the top 10 things you should ask yourself before remodeling a kitchen. So I'm going to ask you guys these questions. I'm really curious to see what your answers are.
Okay, here we go.
So, all right. So, number one, we kind of talked about this a little bit with the extreme makeover, but are you loving or listing? So, why are you remodeling the kitchen? So, that's kind of an interesting thing to think about.
Mhm.
Okay.
That's definitely an interesting to think that budget-wise, or whatever your
Makes a difference.
goals
right?
are here is,
Yeah.
is big. So
Makes a big difference.
Well, I'm putting in some of those kinetic floors between the couch and the refrigerator.
In the refrigerator.
I can just put it in the laundry room.
That's
Put
right,
it
yeah.
A lot of traffic.
As often as my kids open the refrigerator door, you just need to put it in the hinges.
There you go.
Yeah,
There you
that'll
go.
work, yeah.
Yeah.
So this one's kind of interesting, Bill, and this is saying, are you respecting the home's architectural integrity?
I like that one.
Translation, don't do something ugly.
Yeah.
And you may want to think of the weight of whatever you're installing.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right.
I want the big Corinthian columns.
Yeah, exactly. I want the Parthenon in my kitchen.
Exactly. That's what I want. Yes.
If your house is pier and beam, will it go through your floor?
Right. Are you skimping on cabinetry?
That's a big one because, boy, that's where the money can really go up. Is,
Yeah, it can, but it's always nice to have cabinets. It is.
Well, no, but quality is. Are we talking
Well,
quality
yeah.
or what are we talking about here?
Well, yeah, all of the above, I think.
All of the above. Yeah, it's it says cabinetry should be one of the biggest investments in the kitchen, even if it's a rental property, which is
Mhm.
interesting to me.
Yeah.
It says no one wins if particle board ends up in a landfill. So they're speaking to the fact that we have we recently had a leak under our kitchen sink,
Mm-hmm.
and we actually have nice cabinets in our kitchen. They redid the kitchen before we moved in, and they bought some oak cabinets, and the problem is that the bottom of those cabinets is particle board.
They
Yeah.
almost all are too.
Yeah, and so when the faucet leaked in the kitchen, when we had that plumbing issue, it destroyed the bottom of that
Yeah,
cabinet.
it doesn't take but a little bit to destroy
Yeah.
it.
That's why I have a plastic pan that goes underneath my whole
Yeah, I mean,
cabinet.
when I
inside
say
the
it
cabinet.
destroyed it, I mean we were looking at the concrete under it in
Like a
15
sponge.
minutes.
Mhm.
Yeah, it just destroyed it.
It's a good sponge.
So, yeah, definitely understand that one. Question number 4: do you really need top of the line appliances, Bill Beck?
I would say no.
It just depends on what you're doing here. If
Exactly.
you're keeping or you're selling. I mean,
Yeah, it also depends on if you love cooking.
True.
that's
Right?
true. I would personally, I'd rather have good appliances.
I would say upper mid-level.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's some levels where they're so advanced they're hard to even figure out how to use.
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell you right now, if you walk into a kitchen and it's a Viking cooked or stove, and
Yeah.
you're immediately like, whoa,
Yeah.
they spent some money here.
Wolf, yeah, any of those high-end brands.
Yeah, there's some really nice ones, and
Yeah.
they're built like tanks. So
Well, some of the sort of commodity brands now have a luxury line.
mhm.
Yeah.
GE, Frigidaire. I've seen some
Sure.
of those that I walk in and I'm thinking, man, I'd like to have that.
We've also been in brand new high-end houses that had really nice ovens that didn't work.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
So-
absolutely.
I mean,
Gotta hook 'em up, yeah.
so I mean, That's a tough one, but yeah, I like to cook and stuff, so I would rather have quality
Me
appliances.
too.
So
Yeah, me too.
I don't think you're really going to lose there. Most people understand what a quality appliance
Oh,
is when they
without a
walk
doubt,
in.
yeah.
They know if you cut a corner there right off the bat,
Yeah.
just to go stainless or whatever,
Yeah.
So the next question, Bill, this is probably the biggest question in the bunch. Did you do your research before hiring your contractor?
That's
I would hope so.
in this day and age. I mean, it's
It
definitely
is
there's definitely
getting-
more information available on contractors.
There is. In some
instead of
respects,
friend of the
too-
family.
Yeah, in some respects too, it's getting more difficult to find a good contractor. It really is.
It's true with everything, but yeah.
The space is crowded.
Hmm.
It's a place that, at least around here, a lot of people are rushing into because it can be really lucrative.
Hmm.
And it's an area where, at least in Texas, you don't have to be licensed.
Right.
Right.
So it's a relatively easy area to break into. And
That's
you
your guy
really
with the
you really
Sawzall.
just have to be a good salesman when you think about it,
Yeah.
because you're subbing out a lot of your work anyway. And there's such a demand right now here. People are building houses and remodeling houses so fast in this area and so much.
It was a great classic movie, The Money Pit. You might want to watch that
I
first.
remember
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Right. That's exactly
2
it.
weeks.
Tom Hanks.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Look-
Done in 2 weeks.
Looked at your pipes 5 years ago. Do you think they get better with time?
2 weeks.
So number 6 is your kitchen too trendy. That kind of goes back to, does it match the rest of your house? I would think.
Yeah, I would think so too. And trends come and go.
They do.
know?
Yeah.
Well, in a lot of houses, that might be the only thing they update.
Yeah.
So
that's
because
right.
everybody says, do the kitchen,
Do the kitchen.
do the kitchen,
Kitchens
do the
and bathrooms,
kitchen.
kitchens and bathrooms.
Kitchen's where you're going to get your money back. Do
Yeah.
the kitchen. So yeah, it could totally be mismatched,
Yeah.
or just not go with the style of the house.
So here's an interesting one. Have you laid out your kitchen in its real space to determine if it's functional?
Ergonomic.
Work triangle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would assume, I don't know how you would do that. How would you lay out your kitchen in its real space?
Well, nowadays they could
I
almost
guess you could put
they
tape or something
They
on
could
the
almost do like a
floor.
model of your kitchen now, like a 3D model,
Yeah.
to where you
could
could.
do
Yeah.
remodeling.
Because where this is really gets, where this really comes into play is, which way do things open?
Mhm.
Which way do they close?
Yeah.
Where are you going to be working and walking the most?
Does your refrigerator fit?
True. That's a big one.
Or in my case, when they remodeled our kitchen, they completely forgot to put a spot for the refrigerator.
Right.
It didn't exist. It was just in the middle of a wall.
The other
a
big
really
one-
awkward wall too.
The,
and
bi-
we
the
had
other
to
big
build
one
a
is
spot for it.
know what refrigerator you're going to be putting into that space. How
Yes.
deep
Yeah,
is it?
that's
Because
right.
it may
Which
be
way does the
sticking out
door
into the
open?
middle of the room or up against
Yeah.
the counter, or yeah, definitely think about walking. Envision yourself. I remember watching the movie on the how they founded McDonald's, and the guys
Mhm.
that originally did the McDonald's and literally had the whole cooking area or whatever, the main part of the restaurant painted on the ground, and they had all the
Yeah.
employees working in it and walking around and to see how it
To
all
see how
functioned
it
and
works.
flow,
Yeah.
and it was genius on their part for doing that. But that's exactly what we're talking about here. You
Yeah.
see, is it functionally going to work with you walking around and
Yeah.
washing and cleaning and cooking and all at
Yeah.
the same
Yeah,
time?
where's your food prep area? Where's
Yeah.
your cooking
Kids running
area?
between your legs and dogs running.
Well, and that, quite honestly, that may be the most important question in this list. It really
I think
might.
so.
That's the
Because
first thing I would do.
I have
so
seen some beautiful kitchens
it just don't work.
that just don't work.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, if you've got a colander full of pasta and you're trying to get it back to the stove,
mhm.
you don't want to be dripping 20 feet across the floor.
Yeah.
To get
Well,
over
if
there.
you have a built-in microwave and you did a double oven, how high is that microwave now going to be off the ground? That's
If it's above the oven.
if it's above the mine's like that, and
If it's like mine,
it's
Yeah,
it's,
mine is
it's at eye level with me, and I'm 6'3", so my wife's literally needs a step stool to get to the microwave.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
they put ours above the cooktop, and it just whew, it gets hot up there.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I would never do that again.
And you get used to stuff. You probably don't even think twice about it. But when someone else is looking at your place,
Yeah.
they see a lot of that stuff.
Oh, they do,
They see it
absolutely.
immediately. Or
Yeah.
real estate agents will see a lot of that.
Yeah.
They probably wouldn't be a bad person to talk to before you redo your kitchen because
Yeah,
they
absolutely.
see so many of them.
Oh, they totally do. They
And-
can help you with that whole ROI thing too.
There's just little things too. Like there's a switch in my kitchen that turns the lights on
Uh-huh.
over my island,
Uh-huh.
Switches.
and it's underneath the sink.
Switches.
So in order for me to turn that light on and off, I have to open up the cabinet door, go under the sink,
Yeah.
and flip the switch. And
Yeah,
that's a pain
I've
in
seen
the
that
butt.
in a lot of
I
houses.
don't like it.
Yeah.
We saw one
Why not
yesterday that
put
was
it on the wall?
on the back side of the wall.
Yeah, it was.
It was like,
Yeah,
who
people
would
that-
ever think to look there?
People put switches in interesting
Where
places,
can we
but-
put this? Yeah,
no-
another big one. Where are you going to put your outlets and switches?
Yeah. Number 8, maximizing headroom. Are you maximizing your headroom? So that they're talking about your cabinets and things. Do you have room above your
I
cabinets
have
to
a
store?
ding in
things?
my forehead from
Yeah.
my vent hood this week, so it's almost healed now.
Number 9, think about what help you need and decide if you need help. So that's kind of interesting. The answer is always going to be yes on something like that.
This is where I would fail miserably.
Yeah.
Do you need help? No. I've got this.
And then number 10, are you playing it too safe? And so that goes kind of against the grain of the are you too trendy, but
Yeah.
it's kind of,
You mean like bland? Or what do you mean?
yeah, mixing materials, textures,
it dep-
create warmth, have fun.
It
that
depends
kind
on
of
your end goal. If you're going to try to sell the house again, you want
Yeah.
something a kind of a basic, clean slate.
Yeah, a little more
People can
vanilla.
envision their own stuff
Right.
in that space.
Yeah.
Well, you also see this affect the cost of a remodel too, where they think this is what they want, they have it put in, and they are staying there going, "That looks horrible. It does
Right.
not
Ye-
work."
Yet another reason to consult a good realtor.
Yes.
Really, absolutely.
Or
I know people think
designer or something,
about people think about only calling realtors when they want to buy or sell a house, but a remodel is a great time to
we
give one of them a
also
call.
love to go look at new homes
Yeah,
and model
cool.
homes because it's a great place to get ideas, take
Yeah.
photos, get ideas from there. Because you see typically the newer trendy stuff or whatever,
Yeah.
but it gives you ideas, and I'm sure a lot of people do that too. But
Yeah.
it's a great way to see kind of where things are going and what you like, and you can walk right in. Sometimes they have cookies,
Coffee, cookies.
coffee cookies.
All right.
They want to sell you a house, but other than that, just move fast.
All right.
Just give 'em a
Remember,
false phone number.
I remember you can always tweet at us at HouseFluent. Use that hashtag #MyHomeQuestion. We try and get to those on the show. You can always find us on Facebook or at Instagram or at housefluent.com. If you are listening to us on your favorite podcasting app, please hit that subscribe button. Let your friends know about us. That does help us out a lot, and we would really, really appreciate it. So you guys ready to get to some client questions?
Sure.
So number 1, Bill, I am buying a house with a crawl space, and I have my HVAC ducts in the floor. What do I need to be concerned about?
Condition of the ducts would be probably my first one.
Yeah, condition of the ducts.
Are they laying in the mud?
Yeah, unfortunately, we do see
Um,
that from time to time.
Could be an issue. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the only place they can go?
Openings are a big one in there, right?
Ventilation
So
is
if
huge.
if your ducts have openings in them, you can be sucking the air from underneath your
Yes.
crawl space in and bringing it into your house.
Is the crawl space
So-
ventilated properly?
Yeah,
Because that'll
agreed.
affect the condition of your ducts a lot.
It will. Are they
your ducts
properly
intact?
insulated? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that.
Typically, what we seem to find a lot with those is just they're in really bad condition, and
Yeah.
more than likely, no one's looked at them in a long time. Or
The other
Never-
thing
yeah.
you have to think about when you've got floor registers is gravity, because you don't think about it, but you do drop things on the floor, you sweep things on the floor. A lot of times they'll go into the registers and just kind of collect at the bottom there,
Mhm.
and then you're moving hot and cold air through there. So sometimes things can
Mhm.
get in there and cause problems.
There's
for
also
you.
things living down there.
Yeah, that's also a problem.
Love to chew on stuff,
They do. Yeah, they like to chew.
especially
through your ducts.
insulation that's wrapping the ducts.
Yeah. So all those are things definitely to be thinking about.
And they all like that warm air.
They do.
Yeah, nice. They want the conditioned space just
Yeah,
like you do.
exactly.
Yeah.
Nice
Heated
little-
blankets.
Yeah.
Little nests.
So question number 2. So I just bought a new home, and my roof is a 3-tab roof. What's the difference between that and an architectural shingle? And does it matter that I have 3-tab? Is that bad? It's not bad. 3-tab is actually they're okay. They are the cheaper
Mhm.
shingles. I
It's
mean,
kind of like
they're
the standard shingle.
I mean, I would call it builder grade,
Yeah,
right? It's sort
yeah.
of the lowest common denominator.
Biggest thing around here is they're also the lightest.
They are,
Yeah.
yeah.
The architectural type shingles overlap each other a lot more, and there's more weight to them.
Mhm.
So the more damage you see the 3-tab type shingles is wind. They just tend to fly right off the roof.
They do. They're less wind resistant. They they're not as pleasing maybe architecturally as an architectural shingle.
Visually.
Right? Yeah, visually. The architectural shingles just look a little nicer from the street.
They have a little more substance to them.
Yeah, they definitely do. And you know, that 3-tab's not bad. You know, you can always consider an upgrade when you go to put a new roof on, if if it's something you want to do. You know, they don't tend to last as long. They're not rated for as many years. Usually.
Typically, too, when you hear the year rating for a shingle,
Yeah.
is it 10-year, 20-year, 30-year? That typically is the thickness of it, the weight of it. The thicker they are, the heavier they are, they're going to be rated for more years.
Yeah.
Mainly for that reason. The thinner they are, the lighter they are. They just you can go through if you're driving through a new development of more affordable homes after a good wind.
Yeah.
Just look at the roofs, and you can tell which ones hold up really well, really quick. I mean,
Yeah,
in
it depends a lot on where you live too. I mean, if you're in the
Yes.
middle of the desert,
hmm
yeah, you might have that house. You know, if you're in Southern California, you might have a 3-tab roof for 70 years.
Sure.
And be fine. you
And
know?
we hear that a lot from people moving from California.
Yeah.
Well, it says it's a 40-year roof.
Yeah.
What do you mean it might need to be replaced in 5 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, those ratings really don't
They
apply too
don't.
much in Texas.
Yeah,
those
that's
are
exactly right.
Ideal condition.
The
Right.
only difference is how far those shingles may be from your house.
Right.
10 years only going to go this far. 20 year may go that far.
All right, last question. So I purchased a home. The soil grade is up above my brick line. I've heard you guys talk about wanting to move water away from my house. My inspector told me that this could be a place where water could come into my home, but they didn't find any water in my home. What does this mean?
That would be kind of what you would call a conducive condition.
Yeah,
it's
conducive to a lot of things.
it's
Yeah.
going to be. It's just the chances of it causing a problem are a lot higher.
Yeah, for sure.
And mainly due to the fact that, especially on brick, you have weep holes down at the bottom.
Yeah.
Which will allow moisture to drain from inside your walls as far as condensation and stuff. But it will also allow things to come into your walls if the soil level's too high on the
Right,
outside,
yeah.
especially if you have your sprinklers going.
Yeah.
And you usually see this a lot where they bring up their mulch really high around the house.
Right.
Yeah. You see
Or
this
they
a lot,
are a
with
lot of new
it.
sod. And if you can't see the foundation at all, you're definitely too high.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about this a lot, right? So that line between your foundation and your brick it's an opportunity for water and other things to come into your house.
Insects.
Especially if you have negative grading on your house. Where it's coming,
Right.
the street levels like above your house coming to your house.
Yeah.
It's flowing down towards your house.
Yeah, and just because they didn't find water in your house doesn't mean it's not there. And it could be
Right.
there sometimes and not there other times. You know, your house, the way your walls are typically built, they've got something called a sill plate on the bottom, and it's just a board that's laid flat.
Right. It's usually pressure treated.
Usually, but it's just a board that's laid flat, right? And then they build your wall essentially on
Your
top of that.
studs on top. Yeah.
And the other negative of it is
And
if you're keeping an eye or monitoring the condition of your foundation or your cable ends or any of those things, you cannot see any of that when
Yeah.
the soil level's too high, nor can we when we're inspecting it. So that's
Sure.
normally where that comes up on a report is you can't see,
yeah,
and it's easy for us to notice it. So
yeah. If you've got a post-tension foundation, yeah, you're right. You're not going to see the cable ends and things. But where I was going with that is, you know, the water getting in there can deteriorate that sill plate.
Oh yeah.
And you know you just don't know, you don't see it, and many times you don't really even know about it because it's, you know, even though you may not see water on the inside, what's happening is that sill plate's likely kind of damming the water and making it run horizontally, and so until that rots completely out, you're not going to really see the water coming in, and so it's just one of those things. It's just a good idea to just take care of it.
Yeah.
definitely.
I mean, just the moisture in the soil itself, not
Yeah.
necessarily active running water, but the
Yeah.
moisture can deteriorate the wood inside.
Yeah, absolutely.
Water bad. Water bad.
Water bad. All right. What do you guys say we wrap this thing up?
We can do that.
Let's wrap it up, Kelly. Let's do it.
All right.
We're wrapping it up now. Wrapping up.
I'm wrapping. I'm wrapping as fast as I can.
All right. Thank you for listening to House Fluent Inspections Radio. We hope you enjoyed the podcast today. Remember, you can always tweet at us at HouseFluent or go to housefluent.com to book a home inspection, read articles about stress-free home buying, home selling, or home ownership, or just generally get to know us. Thank you today to Bill Beck and our producer, Kelly Lamont. Music today and every day is provided by our Purple Planet Music. So, Bill, what do we have going on this week?
Hopefully something more humorous than today's show was.
You know, you were talking about
Maybe a little dry.
Going to model homes to get ideas.
Yeah.
I used to bring cars in to pretend to trade them in, or want to trade them in to get to test drive new cars.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's an idea.
Great idea.
Worked really well.
Does that work with houses too?
Oh,
Yeah.
I haven't tried that.
Can I live here for a couple weeks?
Give it a try.
All right.